Difference annotation is Spring and Spring Boot core programming. Session 5. In core programming of Spring Boot, we use the following different categories of annotations. A. Annotations for configuration. B. Annotations for data supply. C. Annotations for Spring Bean lifecycle. D. MISC annotations. A. Annotations for configuration. These annotations are given the configure Java class as a Spring Bean making IOC container create object for Java classes, providing info to underlying server container framework by making the Java class code is called at the configuration. The process given input instruction to underlying container server framework to recognize and use given Java code in certain angle. So at the rate first is at the rate component to configure user defined Java class as a Spring Bean. B at the rate service to configure user defined Java class as Spring Bean service class. C at the repository to configure user defined Java class as Spring Bean DAO class at the rate component to configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean web controller class. E at the rate REST controller to configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean web controller class REST API component RESTful web services. F at the rate controller add voice to configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean exception handling handler add voice class in REST API RESTful service. G at that configuration to configure user-defined Java class as Spring Bean configuration class. H bean at the rate bean to configure predefined Java class object given by the method of at the rate configuration class as per Spring Bean and etc. Note these all these are Spring specific annotations. Note multiple annotations doing the same work of configuring Java class as Spring Bean are called stereotype annotations. Web controller class can be take the process the HTTP request given from the browser server software. B logic, service logic, calculating, calculation, analyzing, sorting, filtering, and etc. B logic, service logic. DAO class containers. DAO class contains precedence logic. Precedence means storing for long time any data. Data store for long time. This is called precedence logic. The logic performing crude operation on database software like insert, update, delete, select. Note, we do not use configuration annotation directly in Spring Boot apps. Rather, we use indirectly through Spring Boot application annotation. And these annotations are covering at the rate enable auto configuration plus at the rate component scan plus at the rate configuration. B annotations for data supply for injection activity. These annotations are given to assign inject data to Spring Bean property, Spring Bean class object member variable. At that autowire to inject one Spring Bean class object to another Spring Bean class object property either by type or by name. Dependency injection. At that value to inject simple value to simple bean property of Spring Bean either directly or by collecting from property file or system property or environment variable. Add that qualifier to resolve ambiguity problem. Add that qualifier to resolve ambiguity problem related to dependency injection. Add that primary to resolve ambiguity problem in another way should be used combination with the auto wired. Note all these Spring specific annotations. Spring specific annotations. Java config annotations given by JDK, JE APIs and can be used in different frameworks. If IOC container pick up the dependent Spring Bean based on the type of has a property on which auto-wired is applied, then it is called by type mode of auto-wiring. If IOC container pick up the dependent Spring Bean based on the bean ID of the dependent Spring Bean name bean that is specified in qualifier, then it is called by name mode of auto-wiring. Java configuration given JDK given by Java config annotations given by JDK, JE APIs and can be used different framework. These annotations make our code as more non-invoice because they are not Spring specific annotations. So moving code from one framework to another framework become easy. At that name to configure Java class as Spring Bean and also to resolve ambiguity problem. It's work in combination of stereotype annotations plus at that qualifier. Second, at that inject alternate to at that auto at the rate resource alternate to at the rate autowired plus at the rate qualifier. Okay, why industry is not preferring Java config annotations in Spring Boot programming through they make our code as more non-invoice code. Very few annotations are given as Java config annotations, so these annotations are not all sufficient to develop serious real-time project. Instead of using few Spring API annotations and few Java config annotations in our Spring or Spring Boot apps, they are preferring using only Spring or Spring Boot API annotations in real project. As of now, there is no serious alternate for Spring Boot framework. So moving Spring Boot project code to another framework and executing that in that framework with our code changes is particularly uh, not going on happen. Invasive equals to tight coupling with the framework or technologies. Non-invoice loose coupling with the framework or technologies. If needed, we can use both Spring and Spring Boot API annotations and Java config annotations in single project. C. Annotations for Spring Bean lifecycle. At the rate post construct at the rate pre-destroy. At the rate post contract to make Spring Bean class class method as init lifecycle method. At the rate pre-destroy to make Spring Bean class method as destroy lifecycle method. Both these annotations are Java config annotations. They are not Spring Boot annotations. MISIC annotations. At the rate property source. At the rate property resources. At the rate property source. At the rate property sources to configure single or multiple properties file with Spring app or Spring Boot app. At that component is scan to make IOC container to scan for stereotype annotations class in the given package and sub packages. Add that import resource to import Spring Bean configure file XML file to add that configuration class to link XML file with add that configuration class. Add that resource to import Spring Bean configure. Okay. Add that import to import one configuration to another configuration class. Add that import to import one configuration to another configuration class. Add that scope to specify the Spring Bean scope. Add that lazy to enable lazy instantiation on singleton scope lazy Spring Bean and etc. Second example app in Spring Boot on dependency injection. target class, vehicle, component vehicle, and auto wide, and at that qualifier C engine, and private engine bean spring bean property has a property injected, and public void journey string start place string end place, and dependency class diesel engine, petrol engine, CNG engine, electric engine, and implements engine interface, and component name D engine, P engine, C engine, E engine, and primary for taking this class. Solution 1: how to resolve ambiguity problem using at the rate qualifier and at the rate primary, and at the rate qualifier is the best by matching target spring bean class property name with one dependent class bean. At the rate primary, at the rate qualifier, these solution make at the rate auto wired performing by name mode of auto wiring, and primary the solution make auto wired annotations to performing by type mode of auto wiring. Note, if all three are applied pointing three and different dependent beans, the at the rate qualifier solution work with as the final. The bean ID required for at the rate qualifier can be gathered from properties file if needed. These two reasons make at the rate qualifier as the best solution for ambiguity problem. What is advantage of Spring Boot framework compared to struts or struts or JSF? Struts or JSF are just web framework which can be used to just develop the web applications, or web framework which can be used to develop a web application, whereas Spring and Spring Boot are application framework, JE framework, which can be develop the standalone app, web application, distributed application, microservices, architecture, application, and etc. Is Spring or Spring Boot alternate to EJB? No, EJB given to develop the distributed application, whereas Spring Boot is given develop the all kind of app including the distributed app. EJB is JE technology which given complexity toward distributed app development. Spring Boot are the framework which simplifies multiple apps developed like standalone application, web application, distributed application, and etc. Is Spring and Spring Boot alternate Java JE technology? No. Spring Boot framework complements Java JE technologies because they internally use Java JE technology is to simplify the application development process. Note, Spring Boot framework are not alternate to Java JE technologies. In fact, they are complementing Java JE technology. Can I use service or repository annotations in place of component annotations? Yes, but not recommended to make Java class as Spring Bean using component to make Java class as Spring Bean service class where business logic is placed, and transaction management is applied. Using service annotation automatically enable transaction management in certain condition. Note, the process of execution related logic by applying to everything or nothing principle is called transaction management. The process of executing related logic of applying to everything or nothing principle is called transaction management. Transfer money operation, withdraw money from source amount to deposit money, source account, deposit money into destination account need transaction support. To make Java class as Spring Bean DAO class where precedence logic is placed, CRUD operation. At the rate precedence logic means CRUD operation. Using at the rate repository annotation, these at the rate repository annotations translate technology specific exceptions to framework specific exception like JDBC exception, SQL exception to Spring Boot framework exception. At that service equals to at that component plus plus at that repository equals to at that component plus plus at that controller equals to at that component plus plus at that rest controller equals to at the rate controller plus plus at that configuration equals to at that component plus plus and etc. Not these at that service, at that repository, at that controller, at that rest controller, and etc annotations provide a special identity for Java classes that are acting as a Spring Bean. At that service class for keeping logic, business logic. At that repository class for keeping precedence logic. At that controller, web controller class request delegation logic. At that rest controller distributed 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 component restful app. When happened if we configure service DAO class using at the rate component annotation? What happened if we configure service DAO class using at the rate component annotations? Yes, we can configure, but additional behavior required for the Spring Bean should be added manually explicitly. Like we need to enable transaction management on service class manually, we need to enable exception transaction facility on DAO class manually, not a recommended process. Example application iEngine interface, public interface iEngine, start and stop two methods, and electric engine.java, cng engine.java. So electric engine.java, sbins, package name, and primary component importing, and public class electric engine implement engine. One constructor method, zero param constructor overriding start having one message electric engine started. Override stop method electric engine stop engine stopped, and class name electric engine having one component name e engine. Okay, cng engine dot java sbin package component, and component name is c engine, and one constructor name a constructor message cng engine zero param constructor, and override method is start having one message cng start and engine started, cng stop and engine stop. Diesel engine dot java. So package name is sbins import component name is d engine, public class d diesel engine implement I engine interface, and constructor method message diesel engine zero param constructor override start method having one message diesel engine started, override stop method one message diesel engine stopped. Diesel engine. Okay, this is petrol engine.java. Sbin package import component name p engine, public class petrol engine implement I engine, public petrol engine, and petrol engine zero param constructor message, and override start petrol engine started. Override stop method, and petrol engine stopped. Vehicle.java package has been an importing autowired qualifier component, and public class vehicle component name vehicle at that autowired at that qualifier d engine, and private e engine in e I engine is interface. So has a property, this is has a property, public vehicle constructor, and one message zero param constructor. A b method public void journey start source place string destination place system dot println vehicle journey engine dot start calling method and printing one message journey start at source place, and one other message journey is going on, and calling engine dot stop method, and the system dot println journey stopped at destination place. Main method, coming to main method, package is com.nt, spring application imported, spring boot application imported, application context imported, configurable application context, and the vehicle importing, and main annotations at that is spring boot application, public class name, and public static void main string args get IOC container, application context ctx equals to string application dot run method having class name dot class args get access to target spring bean class object vehicle equals to ctx dot get bean vehicle component name and vehicle dot class. Invoke the B method journey vehicle dot journey Hyderabad to Delhi and ctx dot close, and this is a structure of project files, and output is vehicle dot journey diesel engine is started, journey is started Hyderabad, going on, and stop engine, and journey stopped. Why come in diesel engine? Because I write here at the rate, yes, at the rate qualifier in vehicle.java. I write here at the rate qualifier D engine. So D engine is diesel engine. That's the reason this class is calling. If I write D at the rate qualifier here, component name P engine, then P engine means petrol engine calling. If I write direct at the rate primary and remove this at the rate qualifier, then this primary electric engine is calling. So this is difference at annotations in Spring and Spring Boot core program. Thank you.